Hope everyone enjoyed their Thanksgiving break. I didn't do a vinyl collection update for last month of October because I just didn't have a lot to share. I played it much more safe in terms of purchases. Mostly it was just stuff coming in the mail that I had ordered months prior and pre-order. So I'm going to go over the ones that I did get in October. Then I'm going to cover the much larger set of records that I got in November. Starting it off with All We Know Is Falling by Paramore. This is their debut album, my favorite album from them, I think, and this pressing is unfortunately pretty bad. Sounds not great, there's a lot of warping on it, a little more noise than I would like. I've heard people say similar things, so I'm disappointed because this is like my favorite album from theirs, but I just had to get it, so I was hoping it would be more like the Riot re-release that came out. Same color and everything, that sounded great, but oh well. Next, I got the Kraft Recordings Charlie Brown Christmas Special Vince Guaraldi soundtrack. This is the 2 LP gatefold that they put out. It's just on black vinyl, but it comes with the outtake CD. So that's what I was really interested in. I love Vince Guaraldi's music for the Peanut specials, and I think the Halloween one is probably still my favorite. I showed that off a few months ago, but this is definitely a fantastic record, and I'm glad to sort of have the definitive edition. They put out all sorts of cool colors that are awesome and cool and everything, but I like the package here. Duster 1975. I have some more Duster for November, but a user on Discogs put this up for like $10. They said, hey, I don't really listen to it, somebody want it, and I already have the copy that came with Capsule Losing Contact, but I kind of wanted to grab a colored pressing of this, so I picked this up. Sounds great. It's also 45 RPM, which is a bonus. The one that is on Capsule Losing Contact isn't, because it has some bonus tracks on there as well, but this is really cool. The Loneliest Time, Carly Rae Jepsen. This is her brand new album. It's not my favorite. I'm enjoying a lot of songs on here, but it's definitely not my favorite Carly Rae Jepsen project. So, Good Kid, Mad City by Kendrick Lamar. I didn't show it, but both Carly Rae and Kendrick, both the albums came with some pretty bad seam splits, and they both shipped directly from Interscope, which is unfortunate. But this is a really great record. I just didn't have a copy of Good Kid, Mad City for the longest time. I also don't have a copy of To Pimp a Butterfly, but my brother has one, so I've always held off. I showed recently that I got a used copy of Untitled Unmastered, and then I got his new record recently. I have a signed copy of Damn, so I'm finally getting up there. I'm missing a few, but... And finally, the Cowboy Bebop soundtrack by the Seatbelts. I just watched this show for the first time recently. It was really fun. I enjoyed it a lot. And this edition, I had seen it floating around, and I thought, wow, that looks so cool compared to a lot of the other ones. But it was out of stock when I first watched the show. So it came into stock, and so I picked it up. It's this blue marble, and then I believe the other one's like an orange, it's an orange marble, I believe. Let me check. Yeah, it's this sort of gold/orange vinyl color. So this has just a great sort of jazz fusion-y, little bit of old western, sort of all over the place, but it's a great soundtrack. Okay, and that's it for October. Now I want to sort of slide over to talking about the main releases I got during November. Starting with Rival Schools United by Fate. This is an album that when I saw all the fanfare about it getting pressed, I was interested to check out, and I really loved it, so I picked it up. This was one of the Record Day exclusive. They put out a $90 like anniversary edition that I was tempted to get, but this version is just fine. So I'll let the hardcore fans get the other one, but this came in November. Kaytranada, 99.9%. This is such a good hip-hop electronic fusion album. Plenty of vocal features here. Kaytranada is known as like a producer, but there's vocal features on here. It's not an entirely instrumental album. This is one of my favorites. This is one of the earliest albums that I really wanted to get on vinyl because I'd see it around, but it was out of stock forever when I actually had the money to start buying more expensive records. And so I picked this up on Turntable Labs with another album that's still on pre-order, so they shipped this early. I just wanted to, throw something else in there, make use of the shipping costs, so very happy I finally have this. LP3 by Hippocampus. This is their third album, and in my opinion, their weakest album, but this particular color looks really nice, and it was on Bandcamp. And even though it's my least favorite album from them, Bad Hippocampus album is still a really good album, so I picked it up. The Queen's Gambit soundtrack. This was one I was eyeing for a while on Mondo. It is not out of stock as far as I can tell, but this went on sale. Somebody posted a sale on eBay for like $20. It was like $1 shipping as well. So I went ahead and picked this up. It's got a really interesting case. It's sort of got these cut edges, and you sort of flip this open. So the covers, the standard covers for the records sort of include some notes about the soundtrack, about the show, and then these are the two colored vinyl. And so actually, I haven't listened to this yet. I'm gonna get around to it. But the reason that I had to get this is there's one song on here, and I think it's the last song they put on the actual album. But it's I Can't Remember Love. That when I heard that in the show, I thought it was such a beautiful song, and so I just had to pick this up. I enjoyed the rest of the soundtrack, but none of it like stuck out to me like that song did. So I'm looking forward to giving the whole thing a spin. More Duster. Those who know me know I like Duster. Contemporary Movement, they put out two new color variants. There's like a Me and the Birds blue eye splatter, and then this one, which is the Now It's Coming blue swirl. So this was the one I liked more. I picked it up. Numero are also now pressing self-titled rather than Mudguts. So I picked up their Ghoulish Green, which at some point turned into a ghoulish bluish. They just revised it. They didn't ask me or anything, so that was a little annoying, but let's see if I can shake it out. I actually do think the color of this is just beautiful. So I'm not actually mad. I mean, it would have been nice for them to tell me. It's still a beautiful color, but I wanted to get one of the variants of self-titled. Okay, so Record Store Day 2022. I actually wasn't quite sure what I was going to get during Record Store Day. I just sort of showed up and decided to wing it. I had some ideas, and I ended up spending more money than I probably should have. The first one I'll show off here is Young Dolph's Rich Slaves. This is a really good album. I didn't know much about Young Dolph until his passing, but it's really, I like his style a lot. Very deep, thick voice. There's some good features on this album too. So this is the 2 LP Deluxe, blue and orange. And I decided I would pick this up. Charles Mingus, the sort of self-titled, I guess, album. Mingus has so many albums. I think my favorite so far is Mingus. But one Mingus is good enough for now. This was their Record Store Day. It's like a light blue pressing. And I just really wanted to get this. There were a couple other jazz albums I was thinking about getting, but this was my favorite of the bunch, so I went and picked it up. I did notice there's some bad quality control with these Record Store Day titles. Like this one has a pretty obvious scuff on it. Thankfully it's inaudible. Like I was worried. I was like, I might have to take this back. But I listened through it and I didn't notice any sound changes, any pops, cracks, anything like that. So, and it's the same exact thing with the Young Dolph album. There's a really obvious, like almost cut in there, but I just couldn't hear it at all playing the record. So I'm just going to keep them. I don't want to bug those poor employees, but it's some pretty poor quality control. If you've watched my other videos, you know I'm a big Chief Keef fan. I love Subsa, and so they put 4 of them out, and I had to pick it up. So it's this cool green color. I didn't know it would be a colored vinyl. I saw Keef in there, and I just thought it would be a disservice to myself not to pick it up. I realized after filming that last video that I completely forgot to talk about the 3-inch Czarface singles that got released for Black Friday. The Zarlak Pit, Mando Calrissian with MF Doom, and Nautical Depth with MF Doom. So these are cool. I don't even see these on Discogs yet. They were really expensive. I think they were $13 a piece, which was kind of crazy, but I just decided, man, I love Doom. I've been getting more into Czarface over the last few months, so I figured, yeah, why not? Why not pick them up? They're all sort of sealed on the back, and I want to find a way to try and keep that seal intact while also getting the record out. I just like to preserve this like a hype sticker almost, but it looks kind of tricky. So at some point I'll have to figure out how I exactly want to take these out, but I do want to listen to them and give them a shot. So that's the only other thing I got from Black Friday that I forgot to talk about, so I've spliced this in somewhere. There were a couple other records I picked up at Waterloo for Record Store Day. I picked up this Greatest Hits by the Yardbirds. Yardbirds are sort of like a 60s Beatles imitation band is the best way I can describe it. It sounds like early Beatles. And they have some really good songs. I found out about Heartful of Soul from the Feedback album Rush did, where they covered this song as well as some others. And so I've just been listening to some of their stuff recently out of curiosity. And so I came across this Greatest Hits collection. It's like a promo copy or whatever. It was just a couple bucks, so I picked it up. Emerson, Lake and Palmer, self-titled, With Family for Thanksgiving. My uncle was playing a lot of Emerson, Lake and Palmer songs, and I'm not super familiar with any of their discography, so I saw this in the New Arrivals cheap bin and picked it up for a couple bucks. The Tool Opiate EP. This thing goes on sale for so cheap all the time. I see notifications about it selling on Amazon or Walmart for like $6 all the time. and it was $7 at Waterloo, so I picked it up. It's not the most complete or most exciting tool project, but I don't actually have any tool, and I really like tool. Their stuff is either like insanely hard to find or really, really expensive, sort of overpriced territory. So I just went ahead and picked this up because I just want some tool in my collection. You know, my drum teacher from way back in the day, back in maybe late middle school, put me on a tool. This was way before they were on streaming. And he's like, good luck finding them, but they're a great band. I think you'd love them, because he knew I loved Rush, Genesis, Muse, a lot of those sort of progressive, sort of heavier in some cases rock. So he sent me down the Tool rabbit hole, and I love him for it. And finally, my mom is a part of like a Facebook group that that just like trade around free stuff. I don't know. But essentially they'll just say, "Hey, I'm getting rid of this. Anybody want it?" And so somebody was giving away a bunch of records, and she goes, "Oh, my son loves records," and she picked them all up. She asked the guy if she could take them. He said, "Yeah, sure, get rid of them." So there's a bunch in here. There's some that I already had that my dad had from his old collection, but a lot of them are just either stuff I didn't know, I haven't listened to, but know the artist, and some artists I don't even know. So I'll go through it real quick. My Home's in Alabama by Alabama, and then this is another Alabama record. Feels So Right. So I know the band by name, but I don't listen to them. So I'll be interested to give this a shot. Asia Self-Titled and Asia Alpha. So these are albums, if you've seen before. My dad had both of these. So I've listened to this a good bit. And I enjoy this band. My understanding was that there was a ton of hype, and this was sort of a super group back in the days. And I don't necessarily think it lives up to that hype like a Zeppelin did. But I do really enjoy their stuff, and I put it on fairly frequently. So I might sell these. I might give them away. I don't know. But for now, so, like it's tough. There are slightly different variations. They're in, you know, some sides on my dad's are a little nicer. Some sides on these are a little nicer. The covers mix and match, you know. So I haven't made a decision yet. The Bee Gees, Spirits Having Flown. I don't listen to the Bee Gees at all, really. So I'll be interested to give this a try. Sean Cassidy, Under Wraps. Also don't listen to Sean Cassidy. Sammy Hagar, Boa, and Three Locked Box. I know Sammy Hagar, but I never listened to a ton of him. To me, he looks very like 80s hair, rock and roll, like, yeah, pop, you know, like, yeah, awesome. So I'm gonna be interested to give these a listen. Howard Jones, Action Replay. I think this is an EP from looking into it. I've never heard this one. Kiss, Animalize. I know some Kiss, but not this album in particular. Def Leppard, Pyromania. I've personally never listened to this album, and it is beat up, so I'll try it, but I don't know how successful it's going to be. Juice Newton's Juice. Not familiar with this one either. Quiet Riot, Mental Health. This is certainly my favorite cover. Rick Springfield, Working Class Dog. Steve Martin, Let's Get Small. Samurai Samba by Yellow Jackets. And the original motion picture soundtrack to Vision Quest. So I'm going to be going through a lot of these over the next few weeks and just giving them listens, seeing what I think of them. I'm at the point where I have so many records that I might need to start giving some of them away. I got so many from my dad, and now I got this huge influx of free records that I got. So I might have to start giving some of them away because I live in a small one-bedroom apartment. But that's the update for now. I got some more cool stuff on the way, so I'll probably do that in the next video. But thanks everyone for watching.